Welcome in to the PickASide podcast. Shea Norling, Tyler Aki with you as always. And today we have, I think, what we both expected to be kind of a lame run through the two lacking Group of Four or Power Four conferences, the ACC and the Big 12. I came away with a lot of thoughts on the ACC, very little on the Big 12, if I'm being honest, in terms of how I'm going to bet it. But the ACC, I am fascinated by.
I honestly, for both conferences, I went into this thinking it was going to be more of a chore, and I came out of it thinking, hey, both of these conferences might be fun. I'm not saying that we're talking about, they're going to send 6 teams to the playoff out of these two conferences.
No.
Because that's not the case.
They'll have one each, would be my guess.
But could be a fun year for both of these conferences. It's going to be fun in the micro in terms of watching how these teams play their conference play week to week.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a really fun, the ACC especially, but the Big 12 is going to be fucking nuts, but we'll get to it. The ACC, I think, is going to be fun week to week betting, but I do think it's kind of decided before the ball even kicks off.
Yeah, I agree.
So what I tried to do, yesterday I did the stock market thing, and I ended up doing that again today. But what I was going to do with the ACC and Big 12, because it's so top heavy in both, but the Big 12's wide open, I was going to sort into tiers. So you'd have like conference winners, you'd have the middle, and then the bums, basically. I couldn't figure out the tiers. So I just decided not to do it. And the biggest reason why, and I'll just tee off the ACC, is because I came away from the top tier, and this is what I ended up naming it. This is the top tier in the ACC. If this team doesn't win the conference, it will be because multiple players were either injured, maimed, or killed, or the meteor finally collided with the earth, vaporizing life as we know it and bringing about mass extinction, leaving football as a nostalgic afterthought for the survivors. What team is that about in the ACC?
That is about the Clemson Tigers.
That's exactly right.
Yeah, it's the all-Clemson conference. Like, this is, if they don't win this will be a significant failure, and it could be one. I'm not going to say it'll put Dabo out of his job, because I think getting to the playoff last year and doing what they did, being competitive with Texas, was enough to at least buy him a couple years, but he puts his ass squarely back on the hot seat if they do not win the ACC and get into the playoff this year. You're talking about a team that returned 16 of their 20 best players from a year ago, and it feels like the traditional Clemson teams, the ones with Trevor Lawrence and with Deshaun Watson and Hunter Renfrow and T. Higgins. It feels like one of those. You've got multiple elite weapons on the outside. And one of the hallmarks of what those great Clemson teams are, sure, like there's flash in the receiver position, at the running back position, but those teams were built in the trenches. Those teams had 5 guys on the preseason All-ACC lists. They had 3 or 4 guys on the preseason All-ACC defensive line lists. And they're kind of back to that right now. They've got an amazing offensive line, a really, really strong defensive line, and you might have the best quarterback in the entire country.
Yeah, I think that's the key. You bring back your quarterback in Cade Klubnik, who I do think is the best quarterback in America. I am one of the people who I'm not on board the Arch Manning #1 pick, because I think Cade Klubnik's going to be the #1 pick. I'm not doing it with Drew Aller. You know how I feel if you heard the show yesterday, if you watched the show yesterday. You know how I feel about Drew Aller. I don't think he's very good. Klubnik, it's taken time. His first year at Clemson was rough. Last year was really good, although people didn't talk about it as much. He had north of 30 touchdowns. I think he had south of 10 interceptions. He went north of 3,000 yards. Yeah, it was a brilliant season for Klubnik, and now he returns with 2 years of experience under his belt, a ton of continuity, real receivers. Wesco, the standout for me. That's been what's been lacking at Clemson. They haven't had their Sammy Watkins or their Hunter Renfrow. I think they have maybe 3 of them now. They're just loaded. You bring in Tom Allen as defensive coordinator. I know Indiana fans are like, that guy blows. He's a terrible head coach. He can coordinate the hell out of a defense.
And he's great at Penn State.
Yeah,
doing it.
Look, I think this is the special recipe in Clemson that they've been lacking since 2020. This is the most talented roster that Dabo's had since 2020. When you return 16 starters, that's the second most in America. And I'm pretty sure that's only trumped by service academies. So this is the most continuity any team has. And it's not like last year where I sold they had continuity because they didn't go in the portal, but they also didn't let guys leave. This is top-level talent continuity. That's the difference.
Yeah. Okay, and we give Dabo a lot of shit for not embracing the transfer portal, and rightfully so.
Of course.
It just means year 1 and 2 are going to be a little choppy.
Yeah.
But year 3, when you have this, like this is the benefit of not going into the portal, but also not having guys transfer out.
Yep.
You don't have guys looking over their shoulder. All of these younger guys can play a little bit looser. People, I think, understand their roles a little bit better. Team chemistry, continuity, all of that is at the highest level.
Yeah.
And this is one of the benefits of keeping guys around and not diving headfirst into the portal era.
I hate Dabo. Like, I've been pretty open. I'm not a fan of Dabo as a person. I'm not especially a fan of him as a coach. I've never met him. I'm not trying to take a personal shot. It's just everything he gives off is not my vibe. I've never liked him at Clemson. I've never really had an affinity to Clemson. But when I'm just evaluating the team, there's 3 ways I'm going to bet them. I'm going to bet their win total over. I'm going to bet them to win the ACC. And I'm going to bet them to win the national title. And in fact, I already did it. I bet Clemson to win the national title in May at, I think, 18-1. They're 10-1 now. And I still think there's value.
Yeah, I think they're the best value on the board.
They should be the number 1 team in America.
I agree. Wholeheartedly agree. Now, if you want to poke like small holes in what this team
Running
is
back
right now,
is the one hole.
You've got a true freshman running back right now. But if there's one place where you can stomach a true freshman starting for a championship caliber team, it probably is running back, as long as fumbles aren't a problem. If fumbles become a problem, then you got issues. But if you're holding on to the ball, and if this offensive line is the road graders that we think they can be, you're probably not going to be touched very much as a running back either.
And also, like, the departure of Phil Maffa being sold as a potential negative for Clemson, that's fine. I get Phil Maffa was a good back. I thought he was somewhat disappointing last year, especially early in the season. He was supposed to be All-American caliber, and he wasn't. So I replacing that, to me, is lower stakes, and especially when you're bringing back the 3 best pass catchers you had for a returning quarterback. I love this team.
Yep.
I'm all in on Clemson.
All over them.
The rest of the conference is a little bit difficult to sort out because there are teams I'm bullish on and there are teams that I don't like. Would you like to start with a team I like or don't like?
Let's start with the team, Positivity Podcast.
All right. How about Virginia Tech?
Okay.
I was one of the few people who did not take the cheese last year, and I was a little nervous about everybody anointing Virginia Tech as back. The Brent Pry stuff, the Kyron Jones stuff, everybody was all in on it. They ended up being a bit of a train wreck. A lot of that had to do with nightmare injury luck. Kyron Jones could not stay healthy all season. And I like the way that they approach their offseason. Usually, I would be anti a team that decides to just overhaul everything. But this is so now or never, and Brent Pry knows that. If this season's bad, he's done there. Replace their offensive coordinator, replace their defensive coordinator. I like the defensive coordinator. They went with this young up-and-coming guy who's going to run an aggressive defense. They overhauled their entire O-line. They overhauled basically their entire defense. But it is so now or never, and the pressure's so high. I kind of buy that the luck swings the other way for Virginia Tech this year. I'm not saying they'll be in the conference title game. I'm not saying they're going to win 11 games. But could they win 9 or 10, clear a win total over, and have a bit of a bounce back and save Brent Pry's job? Sure, that's where I'm at. And frankly, the fun part of it, I hate when this gets said about certain schools, but college football is better when Virginia Tech is good.
Enter Sandman, all that good stuff. I will say, schedule does set up pretty nicely for them to have a good year. The only preseason ranked team that you face out of the ACC, home game against Miami at the penultimate game of the season. Who knows what Miami looks like by the time we get there? I'm sure we'll talk about them in a little bit. But, I mean, you get Wake, you get Cal at home, by the way, for Cal. You play Virginia, obviously. Like, you play some of the easier teams within this conference. You do play a couple of SEC teams out of the chute. But neutral site against South Carolina, that's going to be a challenge. And then you host Vanderbilt. So I think we'll know pretty early what this team is. Like, if you look competitive in those first 2 games, I'm not saying you got to go 2-0. If you can split those first 2, 1-1, doesn't matter how you do it. You go 1-1 those first 2, you're probably set up for 8 wins.
Yeah, and it like last year, everybody was in on them and they lost their first game, and you knew immediately, okay, this is not going to go the way we thought it was going to go. This year, I think the opposite could happen, where the bloom's off the rose a little bit, but you see early success. And I'll tell you the key for me, they brought in Phil Montgomery to be the offensive coordinator. If you aren't familiar with who that is, he's only the guy that coached Robert Griffin to a Heisman at Baylor. I think that's the perfect type of coordinator, the perfect type of offense if you're going to unlock Kyron Jones and save him a bit. I would buy Virginia Tech's win total over.
The number is what?
I think 7.5.
7.5?
I'll double check it because I want to make sure we give accurate information. And again, I'm not buoying myself down with a billion futures. It's just if I'm going through the conference, the teams I like, the teams I don't like, Virginia Tech landed on the side of teams I like this year.
Fair enough. I'm not going to dive headfirst into anything there. The way that I would look at it as if you think there's value after the first couple of weeks, maybe just wait and see. But I will not be diving headfirst because, desperation can be good. It can also work the other way too.
All right, you want to talk about the team that I have no idea what you do with because they are one of the most talented teams in the country, but they can't get out of their own fucking way.
Who's that?
Miami.
Yeah.
Is Mario Cristobal enough of a reason to fade the team? It's a bit of the LSU conversation where it's like the only thing to not like is the head coach, but that might be enough.
The way I look at it as this was the number one offense in America last year, and you lost the number one pick and your top 6 pass catchers from a season ago. That ain't easy to reproduce. Like Carson Beck wouldn't have been the transfer quarterback I would have gone after, and I would have thrown a boatload of cash at.
$3 million.
Yeah, I think was it more than that? It may have been more than that too.
By the way, there's another school in this conference that paid $3 million for a quarterback, and I like them a lot better.
I like them a lot, actually, just as a whole. But yeah, Miami, they're going to have the pieces. They had the number one transfer class in the entire country, for a reason. They went out and paid a hefty price to get all of these guys. They'll have a top-notch O-line again. But I just think that this is too many moving parts in a condensed offseason that it's not easy to put this thing together. There are too many transfers, I think, in their case. So I'm with you. I'm not in on Miami at all this year. They're preseason ranked 10. I think they end up falling out of the top 25 when it's all said and done.
Win total's 9.5. They could easily win 10 games. They have the talent to win 10 games, so I can't sit here and sell you a betting an under on Miami. But I would never bet them to win the ACC. They've had the talent to win the ACC each of the last 2 seasons in years where Clemson was not Clemson.
Yeah.
And they couldn't get it done because Mario Cristobal just can't avoid shoving his head up his own ass. Every year, there's the Georgia Tech game from 2 years ago. Or what was it Syracuse last year?
Yeah.
The total embarrassment at the end of the season that kept them out of the ACC title game.
Yeah.
It just, there's too many moments where Cristobal fucks up that I can't lock in on Miami to win a title, even if they have the talent to do it.
The Georgia Tech game from a couple years ago will always sit in my head. Looking at the schedule, though, feels pretty easy to go under on 9.5. You open the season with Notre Dame. You play Florida. You go to SMU. And then you go to Virginia Tech, who we just talked about. Who knows how you handle teams like Syracuse and Louisville and Florida State. I just think there's too many games where we're going to get later on in the season that'll feel more like toss-ups.
Sure.
That right now, as we are evaluating them, look like they're penciled in wins.
Are you willing to pay minus 158 juice to go under 9.5?
No, but I would, if there's an alt total of 8.5, I wouldn't.
And then you get a little bit of a payout?
Yeah.
I wouldn't be opposed. The Virginia Tech total, by the way, for posterity's sake, under 6.5 is minus 144. Over 6.5 where I'd land is plus 118.
Nice place to live for you.
I'm going to get involved.
All right.
All right, I'm going to make you mad. I am bearish on Syracuse.
So am I. I'm the same way.
So I'll lay out. I really like what Fran Brown's doing.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's building a program.
It's a bad situation they're in right now.
Yeah, I just think that this is the gap year. Last year, they significantly overperformed. So you build in a little natural regression, especially since they lost LaQuinn Allen. They lost their best pass catchers.
Trevor
they lost
Payne,
their quarterback in Kyle McCord. It's now Algieri for the kid from
Steve Angeli from Notre Dame.
Steve Angeli, the kid from Notre Dame, the Italian stallion. Love it. But I think it's a year too early to just buy in on what Syracuse is building, and their schedule is fucking brutal.
You face 4 playoff teams and also Miami, who you effectively eliminated from the playoff last year.
Last year, they started the season with Ohio. This year, they start the season with Tennessee.
I will say this. I do think they can beat Tennessee.
I don't know, man. We didn't talk about Tennessee much in the SEC preview. That's an interesting game because Tennessee's breaking out a new quarterback. It's the Heupel offense. I don't know how they're going to look without Nico, with a late departure. But this Syracuse team doesn't feel like one that can go over the 5.5, and I would in fact bet the under. I think there's an outside chance they're a 3-win team. They're just not talented. And again, you can look at it.
Not talented.
No, but
it's too many moving parts. It's the same way that I kind of feel about Miami, but on a lighter scale. There's too many moving parts, and maybe Fran Brown is just a wizard. I almost feel like this is a lose-lose for me because either this team, it's going to be too much to handle for all these new transfers, and they're going to win 4 or 5 games, or Fran Brown is just one of the 10 best coaches in America, and they win. If they win 9 games, adios.
And again, the way I bill it is I'm going to bet they're under, but I don't think that means it's a step back season. I can like what they're building and think that they aren't going to be good this year.
Yeah, like they went out and got a quarterback who's not going to start for them this year, Ricky Collins, but they got him from LSU, former high pedigree guy, like top 150 recruit.
Going with Angeli's actually a smart move.
I think it's a good bridge situation for Ricky Collins. So like next year and the year after that, you're going to hopefully have your quarterback for the long haul.
Just to break down the schedule further, you get Tennessee, you get Notre Dame in the non-con. Those are the 2 games that you fill where last year it was Ohio and UNLV. It's a bit of a step up.
Just a bit.
From Ohio and UNLV.
Teams from a year ago.
Then they go on the road to Clemson. Brutal. Duke at home the week after Clemson. Brutal. Then on the road to SMU. Brutal. They also play Pitt, who people love in this conference, and started 7-0 before nightmare injuries last year. And they play Miami on the road. See, I don't think the road is paved for Syracuse to have a good year, but it's not a step back program.
Yeah.
You want to talk Duke?
Let's do it.
We teased we both like them.
Love Duke.
They went out, spent $3 million on the Tulane kid, Darian Mensah. That is an upgrade significantly from Malik Murphy, the Texas transfer last year. He was terrible, and they still won 9 games. The key, Manny Diaz is the coach. He's a tremendous defensive mind for a team that's returning a defense, basically all seniors.
Yep.
And they were top 3 in the conference a year ago.
Yep. You get 13 sacks from the edge coming back this year. And the offensive line too. You bring back almost the entirety of an offensive line that was 7th in the nation in sacks allowed, and that includes 2 service academies being ahead of them who pretty much exclusively run the ball. So, like Manny Diaz doesn't he feel like the perfect coach for this program? Like it almost feels like what Pat Fitzgerald was at Northwestern to a degree, where he's not this top-tier program coach. He should never coach at an SEC or at like one of the real big boys, kind of like what Miami was for him. He doesn't fit there. But at a place like Duke, basketball school, football secondary, but it's still football, and you're in a power conference.
Yep.
This is the perfect situation for him. And Duke as a whole, I mean, like people kind of sleep on them as a program. Can you guess how many teams in the ACC over the last 3 years have more wins than Duke?
I would guess Clemson, Miami.
Nope.
Wow. Boy, that just screams about how bad Cristobal's been, too. Can't be Florida State because they were so bad last year.
It's not Florida State.
SMU?
Well,
no,
SMU's
but they only had the
been in
one
one,
season.
yeah.
So they'd have the better winning percentage, but they only had the 1 year. Clemson's the only one that's jumping in my mind.
Clemson and Louisville are the only 2
Louisville's a good ball.
ACC programs that have more wins than Duke over the last 3 years. It's pretty incredible.
I don't know why nobody's talking about them. They won 9 games, and they upgraded at quarterback.
And they perennially, like, when Cutcliffe was there, they were a competitive group.
Mike Elko built them into borderline
really
a
good.
playoff team.
Yeah, and now you've got Manny Diaz, and I feel like that's the perfect guy to lead this program now.
So the bet I'm going to make on Duke, and this is what I actually am going to make, and I'll let it sit in my account all year. 2-1 on your money for 9+ wins. They won 9 a year ago. They returned almost their entire defense. It's all seniors. They have a great defensive coach, and they upgraded at QB. I don't see how they get worse, so I'm willing to go for 2-1 to get 9 or more wins.
I gotta say, Duke's one of those teams too that you feel like is going to pull some sort of upset. They're going to win some game in the conference where they should not win. And I'd have to pull up their schedule to tell you who exactly that could be. But, like, they feel like that plucky team. It was like the game a couple years ago when Riley Leonard went out and beat Clemson.
Yep.
Like, doesn't it feel like they've got one of those in their bag for this year?
You want to know who it is? Illinois.
Illinois. Yeah, you host Illinois. I mean,
Illinois is going to be coming in hot. They'll be a top 10 team maybe by that point. If they win week one, they might get a little more respect. But going on the road, the Duke, early kick, kind of a sleepy vibe.
yeah.
That could be the cute upset that gets Duke on board with people. And then they get the revenge game against Tulane with the transfer quarterback.
Yeah, like looking at their schedule, there aren't many of those spots for them to really pull a major upset here. And to me, that screams you're going to win 10, maybe even 11 games, dare I say. Like, you're probably going to lose one of these coin flip ACC games, but this team could. I'm not saying they're going to win the ACC because I think Clemson has that locked up the second they.
They could be in the title game.
Yes.
They could play
100%.
in Charlotte.
You could play in Charlotte, maybe get a little bit of a crowd there, but yeah, I think that this Duke team, they've got something this year.
I don't have a bet on Florida State, but I think we should talk about them because they are one of the biggest brands in the conference. And last year was such a disaster, and we nailed it. Both went the under. That under was a winner by week 4.
Yeah.
I can't figure out what the hell they're doing. Why you brought in Gus Malzahn as offensive coordinator at this point, I don't get it. Why you brought in the transfer from Boston College, Thomas Castellanos, I don't get it. I don't think it'll be the train wreck that last year was.
It just can't be.
But clearly the 12-0 season from Norvell was the anomaly. He's got 3 bad years and 1 great year.
Yeah, my whole thing, like the only note I really have on Florida State is last year was a quarterback disaster with DJU.
It can't be worse than that.
Well, but is Thomas Castellanos an upgrade over DJU?
I don't think so. He wasn't good at BC.
got
Nothing he did at BC was good. Yeah, exactly. They sat the kid down, and now Florida State, of all schools, this is what I can't figure out with the portal. Like Michigan, I talked about yesterday, went to ECU to get some bum who threw more interceptions than touchdowns. Why? Why is Florida State, one of the biggest brands, should be one of the biggest spenders, getting a benched kid from BC as their quarterback savior?
I don't get
and
it.
Gus Malzahn is going to coordinate it? Is it 2010? Gus Malzahn's terrible.
Yeah. I don't get anything that happened with this Florida State offseason here. They're not going to win 1 game, but they're not going to win 9 or 10 or even 8 probably.
I have 2 more teams that I have pretty big opinions on, but one I didn't put notes down on. I'm curious where you land because I think they're a really good bounce back candidate if people are looking for a win total over to bet. NC State last year was a huge darling.
Yeah.
People like win the ACC kind of darling. Similar to Virginia Tech, they weren't good. It was another team I did not buy all the preseason hype a year ago. A lot of bad luck in the metrics. A lot of things went against them that you assume will regress positively this year. Again, not saying they'll be in Charlotte, not saying they'll win the conference, but can you get me 8 or 9 wins?
I mean, that's kind of been what NC State's been in the ACC. You know what Dave Doran teams are. They're going to have a really good defense. They're going to be really good, especially getting after the quarterback too. My one thing is you lose KC Concepcion to the transfer portal, and this team offensively has always been reliant on having like one dude at receiver. Not necessarily like an NFL dude, but like a college superstar at receiver. And I just don't know if they have that this year. Offensively, if they can find ways to squeak out 24 points pretty consistently week to week, then yes, I think they can get to that 9-win ledger. But if they don't, they're gonna have a tough time in this conference.
Over 6.5 is plus 110.
I think, like
is there enough bounce
natural
back?
Regression would tell me 7 wins for them.
I'll tell you, it's another team I feel the opposite on is natural regression would get me to play a plus money under on Louisville. Plus 126 to go under 8.5. I don't think they're just going to keep ripping off 9 wins. And again,
I do think Braum has done a pretty good, and Braum
he's
is
a good coach.
He's been a program builder, and this is like a stepping stone year for him. Because if he goes out and spits out 9 wins again this year, and they bring in Miller Moss too, like an established quarterback who he could do a little bit of something there with, like we see. I mean, couldn't that be kind of like their Kyle McCord, right?
Yeah, but the difference with Kyle McCord is coming from Ryan Day. and getting saved. And I also, you and I both thought Kyle McCord got a shit rep at OSU. He wasn't as bad as people made him out to be just because they lost to Michigan and he threw the interception. And then he was great at Syracuse. Miller Moss was bad at USC.
But he had his moments where he looked good.
And maybe Lincoln Riley is just, reheated nachos and he's just ass. But if Lincoln Riley can't save you, why should I buy that you can get saved by Jeff Brom?
I think Brom's done a pretty good job. Like, he did it with Aiden O'Connell. Like,
Yeah, that's fair.
He's been able to put together some stuff.
I'm not running to play it. It's just the lean would be under. The lean on NC State would be over. We got to talk North Carolina.
Of course.
I'm going to tell you right now, I'm going to bet under 7.5.
I got to say, there's not a lot of talent on this team.
No, it's bad. It's an enormous number because of who the coach is.
Right. Now, there is something too. There could be a Belichick effect here, where he does maximize every last drop out of these players. You are always going to have a schematic advantage in the college game with Bill Belichick on your side. The one thing that I would look at is there something to like the Bill O'Brien effect? You know how like Bill O'Brien went out and won 7 games at BC,
sure,
where it's just established NFL coach, and this, I mean, Bill Belichick is B.O.B. on steroids, right?
Yep.
Like, this is that tenfold here. I wonder if he could maybe just squeeze every last drop, but I also want there's the flip side of this. These players have a target on their back unfairly for the next 6 months.
Yep.
Like, everything is going to focus on them. And fair or not fair, it's because of who the coach is.
Everybody in the conference is going to give them their best shot.
Yeah.
Just because of the media
This
hype.
This is the ACC's Colorado.
Yeah, that's a great way of painting it. And it really might be the ACC's Colorado from 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Where you can't put any level of expectation because it's an entirely new coaching staff, head coach, coordinators, all of it. It's all new. It's an entirely new cast of characters on the field. They basically built this team in the portal.
Yeah.
It really feels like Colorado year one.
Could it be like they go out, and this is funny too, get the splashy win against TCU, exactly what Colorado did 2 years ago?
That would be hysterical.
And then just kind of free fall after that?
We'll get to TCU when we flip to the Big 12, but that is not an easy game for North
No,
Carolina.
I agree. But it wasn't an easy game for Colorado a couple years ago, too.
That's 100% true. But I also, this is big throwback to 2 years ago, and I'm trying not to toot my own horn. I bet Colorado in that game, and I faded Colorado's win total on the season. I could do the same thing with North Carolina. Could they have a miracle win early? Sure. Could they go 9-3? Yeah, they could. I think they could just as easily go 3-9. And the number's 7.5. I think it should be 5.5. I'm going to bet an under on 7.5.
Yeah, I would too.
Because the only reason that exists is Bill Belichick. And also, just if we're being honest about it, the last few years in New England were bad on Belichick's part. Like, he was not coaching the team well. Why do we think now, because he had a gap year and he's at a college, suddenly he's this huge schematic advantage? I'm not saying he isn't. But to the extent that North Carolina is going to rip off 8 wins with a roster that's limited on talent, I don't buy it.
Yeah, and I just think the talent deficit is going to be too much for this team to truly be a player in the ACC.
SMU made it to the title game in Charlotte last year. They had an incredible season with a very easy schedule. They went 8-0 in the ACC in a year where they stepped up. I think they are going to go under their win total this year. They lost 21.5 sacks from their defensive line a year ago. That's a lot to replace.
Yeah.
You can replace some of it. I would be stunned if they replace all of it. I like Rhett Lashley a lot as a coach. They're projecting about 3 or 4 right now in preseason ACC projections. I think that's too high. I think this is probably an 8-win team.
So the thing about it is it parallels kind of nicely to what Indiana was last year, and the fact is that they are playing a super easy schedule once again this year. Like, they play at Clemson and versus Miami. Those are really some of the few games of consequence that this team's going to have. You bring your quarterback back with Kevin Jennings. Offensive line returns 3 all-ACC candidates, and the replacements are coming from high pedigree, like transfer schools, like SEC schools. Yeah. So, like, the offense, I think the offense is going to continue to hum. Pony Express moves on. But I'm with you. Like, this team last year, the reason why they got to the playoff, the offense was great, but it was because the defense held up their end of the bargain. And maybe they don't get 100% of the replacement level production from what they had a season ago, but if they can get like 80 to 85 of it, then I think they could sneak in as the number 2 team in the ACC.
They're going to be what they were 2 years ago, I think. And I would lean under on the win total. I'm not going to bet it.
They're going to be a fun over team, like game
Bingo.
to game.
Exactly. Week to week, betting SMU overs is going to be a blast because they'll struggle to stop people, but they have enough continuity on offense. I think they'll be able to score.
Yeah.
Anything else before we do the independent that is a de facto ACC team?
Real quick, I don't think you were wrong. I think you were just early on Georgia Tech.
Oh, you're getting in on the Yellow
I don't
Jackets.
think you were wrong. I think you were just
My
early.
guy, Brent Key.
I love him. I love him. But no, I thought Haynes King took a significant step last year because my biggest thing with him was always the turnovers. And he cut his turnovers. He cut his interceptions down from 16 to 2 last year. Like, that's a big boy step right there. Schedule much easier given what it was last year as well. And the offensive line returns a lot of the interior plus a tackle. And they were 3rd in sacks allowed last year and had a run game that averaged about 5 yards per carry. Defense, it's on you now.
I looked at them a lot. My issue is last year I had the benefit of a 5.5 as the win total, and it went over. And I got spicy with them winning the ACC because I thought it was fun. This year, Clemson is just such an elite team that I can't.
There's no value.
Bet anybody to win the ACC and really believe I have a chance unless it's Clemson. I like this Georgia Tech team, but going over 7.5 now at minus money, that's not the place I want to live here.
And it's always tough because they have that built-in game with Georgia.
Yeah.
But they almost won it last year.
Yeah, and I don't know what Georgia's going to look like. That's once we get to the end of the season and you get the Georgia Tech-Georgia game, it might be a spot where I bet Georgia Tech because we'll know more about what Georgia's going to be and we'll see the proof that Georgia Tech is arriving. This, like you mentioned at Louisville, this is a stepping stone year for Brent Key where if you have an 8 or 9 win season, you're gone.
Yeah.
So I wanted to get on board, but laying minus 150 to go 8 wins with Georgia Tech, I just couldn't get there. Notre Dame, I don't have any bets on, but they are a national title contender. And I think the hope for me with the Irish is they have the classic Marcus Freeman fuck up, fall on your face game where you lose at home to Marshall or you lose at home to NIU, you blow a game you shouldn't, and then you fire a national title bet.
Interesting. I'm not as high on Notre Dame this year.
I like the QB. Lloyd Carr's kid.
You're in on CJ Carr, huh?
I mean, they just make it work. Like nobody.
Yeah, like Riley Leonard didn't have to do anything special.
Sam Howell looked serviceable at Notre Dame.
Hartman.
Hartman. Sam. Mixing
Sam
up my
H's,
Wake Forest quarterbacks. Sam Hartman looked good at Notre Dame in spurts. Last year, Riley Leonard obviously was great. They played him really differently than he had played at Duke. More of a runner, Josh Allen kind of type. Shout out Colin Cowherd. What was the Cowherd line? You see Riley Leonard, I see Josh Allen. I just think they're really, really good. Marcus Freeman clearly is an elite coach.
Yeah.
My hope is that they screw up at a spot where they shouldn't, and then I can actually get value to bet them to win the Natty.
I just think you look at what that defense was last year, too, and, like, this is going to be a team that offensively is going to rely on running the football. You've got the best running back in the country in Jeremiah Love.
Bringing him back was huge.
You saw what he did in the playoff last year. He effectively won 2 playoff games with 2 runs.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you know what the MO of the offense is going to be. It's going to take a lot off of CJ Carr's play, young quarterback. My problem is defensively, I felt like you lost a lot. And even though you return a lot from an elite secondary, you do lose by far and away the best player from your secondary with Xavier Watts going to the NFL. That's going to be tough to replace. You only return 1 defensive lineman from a year ago as well. It kind of feels like...
Is it wrong for me to just believe Notre Dame's going to reload on defense?
No, I don't think that's necessarily wrong because Marcus Freeman has shown that ability year over year. I just don't know if you've got, like, national title. Like, can they withstand the gauntlet of what a 12-team playoff is, knowing that you are ineligible for a bye? Like, that's the tough part for me. And like, first 2 weeks, I think you're going to know who this Notre Dame team is. You go at Miami, and then you're home against A&M.
All right, we good for ACC?
Yep, all good.
Big 12 is probably the most fun power conference.
Also, look at the odds, too. Like, we've been talking about, I can't bet this because of no value, can't bet that. Because No, your baseline to get in on a Big 12 champ is 6-1.
Yeah, it's awesome. This is like betting NASCAR. This is like horse racing.
Yeah,
like
golf betting before Scotty.
If you have an opinion on the Big 12 and you're right, you're going to make money. The problem is figuring out which of these fucking teams to have an opinion on. Because I look at this conference, and if you put every team on a wheel, save like Colorado, I don't think is going to be that good this year. They lost so much.
Yeah.
Houston, I don't think is going to be all that good this year. There's a few teams that I'm like, they're not going to win it. But the other 12, you put them on a wheel and spin it. Whichever one it lands on, I wouldn't be shocked if they won the conference.
Yeah.
1 through 8. Like if you take Arizona State's 1, TCU is 8. The gap between those two is as small as 1 and 2 in the other conferences.
It's what it was last year. There was a 4-way tiebreak that they had to break to get into the Big 12 title game.
This is the power conference version of the Fun Belt.
Yeah.
And the stat I kept coming back on, because unpredictability is the word I would use to describe this conference. When I'm reading all the previews and everything, you aware that the Big 12 got rid of their preseason poll?
Did they really?
Gone. There is no Big 12 media preseason poll.
Kind of love that.
The reason, the top 5 teams in the preseason poll last year were a combined 26 and 35 overall, 13 and 32 in conference.
That's what happens when Arizona State goes to the playoff.
The bottom 5 teams in the preseason poll last year were 39 and 25 and 26 and 19 in conference. So shout out ASU, shout out Colorado, shout out BYU, which is where I'm going to start, because if there's one team I'm fading.
Was this an edict from the conference or from like the College Football Writers Association?
That I don't know, because the other conferences have their
They all
media
have 'em,
polls.
yeah.
The Big 12 just said, we're not doing it, because they can't figure it out. That my only guess is they can't figure out who's good here. There's no use in doing a preseason poll, because we'll find out in week 5.
I wonder if the coaches were just like, screw this. It just puts an unfair target on our back, and we know we're not that good. Like we know this is not where we should be.
We don't want to do it.
Yeah.
BYU is one of the few teams in this conference I will actively fade by no fault of their own. Their quarterback, I'll just say it, might have raped somebody and had to transfer to Tulane like 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
That's brutal. You lose your and he was good, Zach Retzlaff.
Yeah.
Now at Tulane, because he got kicked out of BYU because of the honor code at BYU, they will not be what they were a year ago.
But you bring in the bear.
Oh, God. Are you in on BYU?
No, I'm not. They're a statistical anomaly.
Fading the
last
Mormons.
year. You want to know what was the funniest thing? And it just kind of goes to what the Big 12, the same thing that you did with the preseason poll from a year ago. Last year, they had the worst pass rush in the conference, but statistically were the best defense.
Yeah, it makes no sense.
That makes sense.
The conference is fugazi.
Yeah.
From top to bottom, it just makes no sense. Arizona State's the favorite. Arizona State should be the favorite. They're bringing their quarterback back. They're bringing basically every weapon except for Scatabo back.
Big loss. But
How much does losing Scatabo hurt them? Defensively, they're not that good, but it's a lot of returning players. I would never bet Arizona State because I'm not betting a favorite in this conference.
Yeah.
You can't do it.
yeah, returning 4 or 5 offensive linemen from a playoff team last year. This is the team, actually, Arizona State. They return the most starters of any team in the nation from last year. 17. So you're talking about all but 5 guys. Now, one of them's a pretty big one, losing Scatabo, who was kind of Mr. Everything for them. He could make plays out of the backfield with his legs. He could catch the ball. He did everything for that offense. But I think getting Levitt back is a pretty significant thing, and he can use his legs too.
In this conference, I am darting one team. Well, actually 2 teams, but one's a real long shot. And I'm getting back in my bag. Before we ever started doing this podcast, my first year working here at ESPN 1000, I did Hoodie had me do Snorling U. And I just gave out some tips. My preseason preview.
Sounds like some fake university that you find out you're
Trump U.
You're a class action lawsuit in 5 years.
It was my Trump U. Welcome to Snorling U. I gave out one team that nobody was talking about because I felt like they could win the Big 12 and I felt like they could make the playoff when it was a 14 playoff. And this was my initial credibility moment, the most credible play of all time. I offered TCU to win the conference and make the playoff. What did TCU do? They won the conference and they made the playoff. Yeah. What am I betting this year? TCU to win the conference and to make the playoff. They won 6 of their final 7 games last year. They returned their quarterback. They lost a lot of pass catchers. Shout out Savion Williams, who is like awesome. Yeah. But they replaced them with really talented players. Bring 6 starters back on defense for second-year Andy Avalos as the DC. He really improved the defense a year ago. They still can't stop the run, but they were great against the pass. If they can get a little better against the run, and this conference is so wide open, like we talked about with the SEC, is 6-2 enough to get you to the title game?
Oh yeah, I think in this conference for sure.
You might be able to go 4-3. and
you got to get some tiebreaker luck.
No, I really believe that TCU has a shot, and if you're going to bet this conference for a title winner, it's got to be a long shot.
I look at, like Josh Hoover, tremendous quarterback for them last year. Over 4,000 yards, had 27 touchdowns, 11 interceptions, a little high of a number, but when you air it out as much as you do in the Big 12, you're going to see big numbers like that. I'm a little worried with how you replace the receiver production from a year ago. But like if you're taking long shots, this is about as good of a one as you can take, I think. And like Sonny Dykes, I think, is a tremendous coach.
Yeah, he's great.
Like he was great at SMU. He's been great at TCU so far. He's gotten to a playoff. He's gotten to a title.
He was also the guy that knew Michigan was cheating and changed all of his play signals so that they could beat Michigan. Like he's a phenomenal football coach. I think he's a great program builder, and I think this is one of those teams that there's enough continuity and enough that stayed in place, especially at quarterback, and returning enough starters defensively from an improved defense. You can work your way into bounce back year for TCU. Last year also, you look at the record, it's not great, but like I said, you win 6 of your final 7 to answer for an awful start to the year. I can look at that and say, okay, that improvement was real, and I think they'll carry it over to this season. So I'm darting a long shot on TCU.
So there's 2 teams that I kind of pinpointed.
I hope we have the same one.
As the teams like I'm in on. If I had to pick, if you made me pick, I would pick one of these. I have like my 1 and I have my 2. All right? You want my 1?
I hope it's the same one I have.
Should we do this on 3?
Yeah, go ahead. Count it down.
3, 2, 1. Baylor.
Texas Tech. Oh!
Texas Tech is my other one, though.
Damn.
So let's start with Texas Tech then, all right? Because I think this team is every bit of like your classic Texas Tech team, every bit of the Big 12 stereotype.
They have the most expensive roster in the country.
Yeah, and they were the number 2 transfer class in all of college football, according to 24/7. And you look at what Baron Morton, like this is what quarterback progress looks like, all right? This was him in 2022. 56% completion, 1,100 yards, 7 touchdowns, 6 picks, a 3.6 interception rate. 2023 bumps the completion percentage up 6%. Yards go up 650, more than doubles his touchdowns, throws 2 more picks, but the interception percentage comes down 1%. 2024, this is where things get fun. 63% completion, 3,300 yards, nearly doubling your yardage, 27 touchdowns, 8 interceptions, but the interception percentage goes down a full percent again, under 2%. He's not going to put it down another percentage point this year, but like this is a fun team, man. And the only reason why I'm taking Baylor over Texas Tech is because of the schedule. Because a lot of these teams is a little bit of a smaller conference, so you play a lot of the same common opponents. Baylor plays all of those hard games in the Big 12 at home. Texas Tech, they're all on the, like literally all of them are on the road. So that's to me the difference when you're talking about a narrow margin in the conference and tiebreakers. That's why I like Baylor over Texas Tech. But I think they're just as fun, and I will root with you along with Texas. Like I am going to place Baylor and Texas Tech to win this conference.
Yeah, mine are
7-1 and 6-1.
Mine are TCU and Texas Tech. I love both teams. Baylor, I tried to get there because I do like the team. I just hate Dave Aranda, and I can't get over it. But I don't know what it is. I just don't like him.
Is that kind of like aren't they basically Big 12 Florida? Like coach whose ass was fired in week 3 pretty much, but then resurrected the season. Baylor won their last 6 games.
Yeah, but if you say he's Big 12 Florida, my biggest worry with Florida is that I'm taking the cheese. and it's like, this is the year for Billy Napier. I can't do this is the year for Dave Aranda. I don't like him enough. Billy Napier, at least I like, and there's more talent on that roster.
I feel the same way about.
I'm not saying you're wrong.
Aranda
I'll root
as
for
I do
you.
for Napier, I feel like, but like this Baylor team last year to close out the year, final 6 games, they averaged 34 points per game, 440 yards. You return 2 running backs that averaged nearly 6 yards per carry last year, and it feels like their quarterback Sawyer Robertson just figured it out at the end of the year when he was airing it out like that. The last 5 games on their schedule are against teams that did not make a bowl last year. Like the schedule ease for Baylor is what gets me over the hump and gets me to pick them to win the Big 12 title game.
Final thought on Texas Tech. I will just respect any team that I think sees a loophole in the rules, and I feel like they did. I think they saw the writing on the wall with the revenue share coming, that there was one last year of wide open West NIL money, and they took full advantage of it. They spent like crazy. They hired away Houston's defensive coordinator. They went out and just bought a really talented roster that is among the most expensive in the country. Like, it's hard to get firm numbers on stuff, but everything you read is Texas Tech probably has the most expensive roster in America. I like seeing that, so I'm in on the Red Raiders. Then there are 2 teams I'm fading.
Okay.
Both pretty hard. They both occupy the same state. I'm fading Kansas State because I think Avery Johnson blows. He strikes me as one of these fake guys that gets media hype, and then you watch him play like Drew Aller light, where
good runner, bad passer.
Everybody says he's great, and then you watch him and you're like, why is everybody saying he's great? And they weren't good last year. Yeah, they could regress positively a little bit, but I'd be surprised. So I can't bet them to win the conference. And the win total stuff, everybody could end up sitting at 8 or 9 wins in this conference, so best of luck to you if you want to just dive in on the win totals. I'm really looking at conference winners. I would lean an under on Kansas State, and I think I am going to play an under on Kansas. I know Pottinger thinks you got to bet him to make the playoff. Danny's going to be mad when he hears this. They had a good end to last season, but they return so little from their team a year ago. Devin Neal was the linchpin of their offense. He's gone to the NFL. They got to replace 3 starters on the offensive line. They return only 3 starters on the defense, the whole defense. The coordinator situation, they lost, the play caller, Jeff Grimes, to Wisconsin. They've got 2 guys calling the offense. Automatic red flag. Like the Auburn story that we didn't get to yesterday, where they got 1 dude calling first down, 1 dude calling third down, and at any point in time, Hugh Freeze can just decide he's going to call a play.
Did you hear they might be going with 3 quarterbacks, too, in their opener?
Disaster. Kansas, I feel similarly to. Now, at least they won't have the 3 quarterback problem because they bring back super senior Jalen Daniels. But when you have 2 coordinators and your coach is an offensive coach who's also known for being a great play caller, I get worried there's too many voices in the room offensively, especially when you lost the linchpin of your offense in Devin Neal. Defensively, they just don't return enough. And the guy that has been Leipold's right-hand man on defense retired at the end of last season. So it's a promoted guy from inside the program that they have calling plays, first-year play caller on the defensive side for no returning players. I kind of like a win total under.
Yeah, I'm not in on either of those teams. I don't think they're going to really factor into what the Big 12 is when we're talking about things in November. Like Jalen Daniels, like, he's been good. Has he been healthy? He's never been healthy throughout his career.
He's never been healthy, and as prone as he is to have like the best offensive performance you'll see all week, he's also prone to just have 3 or 4 brain dead interceptions.
Like, here's the way I would look at it. Kansas is going to pull a crazy upset, probably, at some point this year because Jalen Daniels just has an awesome game and Pottinger's bringing the goalposts to the lake again. That's going to happen at some point. They're also going to lose a couple games that they have 0 business losing. And you could probably say the same for Kansas State, too. Avery Johnson's going to have a game where he just runs like crazy and maybe makes enough throws to win in an upset fashion over some team like Arizona State or like Texas Tech or Baylor. He's going to have one of those games, but he's going to it's the whole 1 step forward, 2 steps back. And I think it applies to both teams in the state of Kansas.
I wanted to get on board with the Jayhawks, but I think I'll play them the same way I did last year. I had a win total under on them last year, which I think was 8.5. It was some crazy ass number,
5 or 6.
But at the end of the year, they started playing well, and the offense looked good again, and you could bet them in spots. And I had a huge bet on them against Colorado, a game they won outright.
Yeah.
So I can play Kansas that way, where long term I don't love them, but there will be spots you'll want to play them because there is upside offensively. The rest of this conference, I have a hard time with. Oklahoma State, I think's not good.
No, they're bad.
Arizona, I think's bad. UCF, I think is bad.
Yeah.
Utah, I don't know what the hell you do with them. They've been such a model of consistency under Kyle Whittingham, but I don't know what they are anymore.
Can I give you a piece of optimism for Utah? So obviously we know like what Kyle Whittingham does defensively. That is a constant year after year after year. Offensive line. They are perennially one of the best offensive lines in the entire nation. Now they bring in Devin Dampier from New Mexico, and I think this was a savvy move here. Not only did they go to the portal to get the quarterback, but they brought his offensive coordinator over as well. Jason Beck, a guy who's been well-traveled, has had good offenses at Syracuse, Virginia, number of places. And I wonder if that's going to, they just need consistency at quarterback.
Yeah.
They don't even need, some top-tier quarterback play. You don't need that. They've had 6 quarterbacks over the last 2 years attempt at least 30 passes. So as long as Dampier can stay healthy enough, Utah is going to be in the mix to win the Big 12.
I wonder if it's worth firing just a 6-1 on Utah to win it. Because you said everything right. They haven't had consistency offensively, but if they're right,
they're probably the best team.
And it's the best coach.
And guess what? Who's best equipped to take down Texas Tech? And who's best equipped to take down Baylor? It's those and Arizona State.
Plus,
it's Utah.
The advantage of playing home games at altitude.
Yep.
The way that program has an identity of being tough-nosed football, great offensive line, great defensive line. They'll play hard defense. Maybe you just fire a bounce back if you think Utah's right, because if they are, I agree, they probably are the best team in the conference.
Yeah, if they're right, yeah.
But who knows?
Yep.
Any other notes on the Big 12?
I guess it's not a Big 12 preview without saying something about Colorado. I think the defense will be a little better.
Yeah, but they're just not good.
They're just, yeah. And I think quarterback won't be a problem per se. It's going to be who's catching the balls.
Yeah.
This offense lost 37 touchdowns.
Yeah.
Receiving wise. That ain't easy to reproduce.
The offensive line is once again not great.
Nope.
They're going to struggle to run the football. I don't like Deion is a wonderful recruiter. The media hype around him angers me more than anything Deion actually does, but I don't think he's a great coach and in-game scenarios. And I just don't think they're talented enough to overcome what they lost. You can't lose Travis Hunter and Jimmy Horn and have an effective pass offense when you're also replacing the quarterback behind another bad offensive line, and I don't believe in the run game. Even if the defense is slightly improved, they're 33-1 to win the conference for a reason.
Yeah. No, it's going to be a problem. It's going to be a problem. I think this year will be an issue, but get back to us next year. This team actually could be pretty good next year.
Yeah, I'd be interested if Deion stays.
Yeah.
Because
that's
always
the elephant in the room.
Combining ACC and Big 12 works for this little conversation. If this is a bad year at FSU, Norvell will be gone. And that is the ultimate moment where Deion can maybe transition to Florida State.
And it quite frankly does not matter how good or bad Colorado is this year.
No, it doesn't at all. It means nothing because they were so good last year.
Yeah.
They were so above
knocking
expectation
on
a year
the
ago
door of the playoff.
that I think Deion has the proof of concept that if Florida State moves on from Norvell, even if Colorado's a 4-win team, they would be playing into the expectation, and Florida State is just a big enough brand they can overcome the recruiting lacking at Colorado. With Deion's image, it would be spectacular.
For sure.
My poor West Virginia, man. I was so in on WVU last year. They let me down, and now they're just awful.
Yeah.
UCF, I feel terrible for. Malzahn leaves. Last year went sideways on them. The fans at the bounce house are spectacular, but that team's terrible. The Big 12, the bottom of it's brutal.
But the top 10, top 8 or so,
They're all pretty similar.
it's going to be fun.
And Iowa State's an interesting one, too. Obviously played in the title game a year ago. didn't win against Arizona State. Matt Campbell's been there forever. I would stay away from Iowa State this year. They lost Rocco Becht.
He's still there, but you're losing that receiver room.
That's right.
2 second-round picks, Jaden Higgins, Jalen Noel, and to be honest, the pass rush, I think, leaves a lot to be desired after it was pretty good last year.
And just big picture, Matt Campbell, I think he probably should have taken his money and run and gone to the NFL or a bigger program at some point. And now he's just kind of destined to die in Ames. He's going to be
maybe he likes.
He's going to be Iowa State's Kirk Ferentz.
Yeah, you like what you like, man.
I guess. All right, that'll do it. Tomorrow we will have a big picture look at the Heisman and the college football playoff. You want to have brackets?
Let's do brackets, yeah.
All right, brackets tomorrow.
Tomorrow, what we got to do too, we did this last year. We'll draft playoff teams.
I'm in.
Let's do it.
The more fun, the better.
All right.
This has been the latest edition of PickASide. We'll see you again tomorrow.